Greetings, everybody. This is Brother Ron Heard, also known as R2C2H2 Artist. You are watching We All Be TV, News Free Dixie for the 21st century. Can you dig it? You because we know you talk about heroes. It's like everybody's being overexposed in the social media, but also the King thing. They're gonna come out with his so-called other stuff in 2027 from the National Archive. But I have read and I talked to people. They said that I brought up Withers because Withers, they say he was an FBI informant. They made books about it. They even said Thurgood Marshall was an FBI informant, Judge, that he had things he couldn't stand.
He was a cop. He was one of the first seven. He was one of the first 7 black cops they hired in Memphis after World War II. He'd been in the Army, and they had put him, trained him as a photographer so he could photograph the colored folk. He was damn good at that, but he was one of the first 7 black cops. So that's how he got the bad name, you know, but he was a good cop. He wasn't bad. He didn't sell anybody out. I know a lot of the information that he knew that he got buried with.
Mm-hmm.
So
what about Thurgood though? Thurgood had a relationship with Edgar Hoover, and he was telling on people.
Well, yeah, he wasn't exactly telling. He wasn't exactly telling on people.
Okay.
He had the same kind of relationship with J. Edgar Hoover that O.J. Simpson did.
Oh, really?
O.J. Simpson had an autographed 11 by 14 picture of him and J. Edgar Hoover, which, by the way, was one of the things that was being sold at that Vegas flea market, and O.J. alleged had been stolen from his home by LAPD.
Okay.
So you have to understand, Hoover was schizophrenic. First off, Hoover was a black man.
I heard that many times.
If you look at early pictures of Hoover, he looks much like Harold Ford Jr. He doesn't look like liver spotted old white man. And historically, his family got run out of Louisiana for passing as white. The Klan ran him out, so he always hated the Klan. But Hoover did not have a problem with those folk who were smart in the law and stuff like that.
Okay.
He didn't have a problem with Thurgood Marshall. And Thurgood Marshall was somebody he tried to recruit, I hear, but he didn't.
Okay.
And besides that, I know some people, good people, who've been FBI agents. I have some good friends whose brothers or sisters became FBI agents. A little weird, but you know, it is what it is. It doesn't make you a bad person, but it's a place where a bad person can do a lot of damage. Now, J. Edgar Hoover was both gay. His lover was Colson, who was deputy director of the FBI. He was in for far too long, accumulated too much absolute power in his hands. He was a master of blackmail and surveillance, and he was extorting a lot of people that had a lot of power in the country. And like so many black folk, he hated his own people. And he did not look well upon the black church. He wrote ream after ream, pontificated after pontification, that the black church was a communist front. And right now, if you check out, sometimes they run this stuff on J. Edgar Hoover with the Smithsonian Channel, the American History Channel. They even acknowledge that he was a black man. And they get into his self-hatred and a lot of other things, too. So it is what it is.
It is what it is. And politics paper strange bedfellows.
Yeah.
But the gun did come. The gun did come from the FBI, right? That got King, right?
Judge. It was an XM-21. It was a converted M14. The barrel was made by the Army Marksmanship Unit. They made 63. They made 62 rifles. The FBI got 5 of them on invoice. late December 1967.
Mm-hmm.
Late April 1968, same month King was assassinated, the Justice Department ordered the FBI to return them to the Defense Department, who wanted them for the NOM. The FBI claimed they lost one.
I don't like him never. Yeah, it's always like that.
On inventory. And they also, by invoice, got 5,000 rounds of the special custom loaded ammunition that matched what they pulled out of King's body. Now, for those who understand it, for those who don't, I'll say it anyway. Ray's rifle was a 30-06 caliber Remington 760 pump action Game Master, just like a pump shotgun.
Mm-hmm.
The FBI issued 760 Game Masters in 308 Winchester and 12 gauge 870 Wing Masters, which are the classic Remington 12 gauge pumps.
Mm-hmm.
Now, what shot the bullet that was pulled out of King's body had not the rate of rifling twist that Ray's 30-06 had, which was one turn in every 10 inches of barrel. In other words, in 10 inches of barrel, the bullet makes one revolution. That rifling twist was one turn in every 11 1/4 inches. The only way to get a barrel like that in 1967 was to have a custom barrel maker make one. And the FBI got 5 rifles made up by the Army Marksmanship Unit that had these characteristics. And the one that was issued to the FBI in 308 Winchester, which is 7.62 NATO, had a rate of rifling twist of one complete revolution in every 12 inches. Now, where'd they get them? Well, Quantico, Virginia is possessed of an FBI training base, and also it has long been the sniper school for the U.S. Marine Corps. So what seems to have happened is somebody just walked over a couple of 100 yards to the sniper school from the FBI training facility and recruited 2 Marine Corps snipers who had just gotten back from the NOM and said, we have one very important task for you. It's to kill somebody we feel is a communist agent that is about to cause a lot of disruption in America.
Mm-hmm.
So it wasn't any gangsters. It wasn't any whacked out somebody wandering around as a loose cannon who would tell and squeal, but they do anyway, but there's nothing for them to tell because it doesn't lead anywhere. Now, my investigation suggested that there were 4, possibly 5 alternative scapegoats. Ray was picked because he was the safest one. Why? Because he wasn't even in Memphis. And interestingly enough, the Memphis Police Department's Homicide Bureau was adamant that Ray was not the gunman. He wasn't even in town, and they listed where he was. They'd been keeping up with him. So it's interesting. And then there's another rumor that they smothered him in the hospital. No, he didn't get to the hospital. He got the right carotid artery complex wrecked, and he bled out inside of 15, 20 seconds. So most of it was internal, since the main point of severance was inside the skin, even though there was a flap that got torn down. But was what it was. And there's some interesting characteristics about the bullet. First off, it wasn't factory ammunition. The bullet they pulled out of King was an aftermarket bullet. It was commonly used for hand loading, and the FBI got 5,000 rounds of this ammo loaded with either a Spear or a Sierra aftermarket bullet, 162 or 168 grain soft point. It had a reduced velocity, and they put epoxy resin in the cartridge case to reduce the capacity, so when they dropped the powder charge down, it wouldn't detonate. Rifle ammunition is strange. If you put too little in it, you get an explosion.
That's interesting. Wow.
So you want to fill the case up with epoxy. You put a tube down in there so the primer will still flash up and into the powder area. And guess what? The bullets have traces of that epoxy, or the bullet they pull out of King has traces of that epoxy on the base. The FBI faked the test, etc., etc. The shot didn't come from the flop house, nor did it come from the bushes that are directly below the flop house bathroom window. The shot came from the fire station dormitory cafeteria, those narrow sliding windows you can see. The rifle was on some sandbags and 10 feet or so inside. Nobody was hanging out of the window, and somebody from the inside said, "We're coming out." The rifle was pretty much aimed in that direction. The caller said, "Okay, we're coming out." The spotter says, "Target appearing." The shooter says, "Acquired target." Spotter says, "Take him." Shooter says, "Sending," squeezes the trigger, dead man.
They made sure them black firemen was at the fire station. They got them out of there, and they got Officer Ed.
Oh,
Reddick.
yeah.
Ed
Reddick was on the roof.
Yeah, they got him out of there.
Reddick was on the roof. It was interesting. The timeline was that he was supposed to go over to Billy Kyle's, Reverend Billy Kyle's house for
dinner,
to be fed. His wife gave us an affidavit saying the food was ready. It wasn't her. She got a call there would be a delay. That's when they found out that the 6 black detectives and sergeants wouldn't leave, so they got told if they didn't leave, they'd be disciplined, and they left, allegedly because there were reports that there were threats on their lives, not on King's. Then they found Ed Reddick. Ed Reddick is a different story. They found this black fireman up there, and they told him his son had been badly injured in an accident. Go home and check on it. He found nothing was wrong with the boy. He said he was coming back. There was a delay on that, and he was told just take the day off. And then they found Ed Reddick up top, and he was doing overwatch, and he refused to leave. And he gave us affidavits saying that they sent 10 cops and 2 squad cars, and they double handcuffed him and took a rope and hog tied his feet and threw him in the back seat of a squad car and forcibly removed him. So when they remove him, at that point, everything's okay. King is going to go with the group over to Kyle's home to eat, and he's going to go out the east side, but he gets brought back to the west side with the conversation of, "Reverend, some of your fans want to see you out by the pool." There used to be a pool out there. And Kyle's escorts him outside of the door. Dick Gregory recorded an interview with Kyle's a few months before Gregory died, and about a year and a half before Kyle's died. And he said, "Why'd you duck back in the room, in the door?" He said, "I didn't want to get shot." He said, "You know there was going to be a shot." "Well, I just felt like there might." "Oh, yeah, okay. Well, then why'd you take King out there?" You've heard that. You played it.
It's like from the morning show. Like when he was in Mississippi, and he said that Reverend Orange he was upset because he heard what Billy Kyle said. Because he said it on several occasions that he got to wait so they get a clear shot. I guess you can't hide certain things. It's very Freudian.
Yeah, now it's interesting.
I heard Cal was the MPD informant too, that he was Memphis police informant.
Well, yeah, but that was informant. They needed people to check on what was going on. And see, here's the other thing. In order for somebody to be hanging out in those bushes, you would have been able to see them walking up and down Main Street the way things were laid out then. And even the Flop House now, which is part of the Civil Rights Museum, has a little note down there confirming my conclusions that the window didn't open far enough to shoot out of the damn thing.
Yeah.
The scope
it had a tree too. It was a big tree blocking some of the view back then.
Big tree.
Yeah, they don't talk about that.
Gave us a statement before he died. He said Captain Smith said, "Look, when we got there, I looked out. Somebody directed me to the Flop House bathroom, and I looked out and said, no way, there's a big tree growing between the Flop House bathroom window and the Rain Motel." But an hour later, it was cut down, and we found out there was a cut down order for 9 o'clock that morning. But of course, the sanitation department was on strike. Now, while we whoopee. So one thing too, I talked to Ben Hooks, about it, and he said, "Let sleeping dogs lie." I talked to Reverend Kyles about it, and he said, "Let sleeping dogs lie." I talked to Jesse Jackson, Reverend Lowry, and Andrew Young about it, and they said, "We need to get to the bottom of it." Now, and they provided some interesting information. On one time, we all kind of exchanged notes.
Okay.
About what we knew and some things that are, and by the way, what's coming out in 2027 is not going to be pretty.
Yeah, I kind of figured. It's folks that made it live a king's life, they turn on them.
Some of what's already in the record ain't pretty, but I'm not going to publish it. Let history grind its wheels slowly, but some of it is not pretty.
So are they going to take his statue down in D.C. like they did the Confederate general, like Nathan Bedford Forrest?
I don't think so. They've already named a holiday after him. They'll cover him. But I do know one thing that used to be a bad problem. A lot of black folk, especially veterans of World War I, World War II, and Korea, would not have anything to do with the civil rights thing because, one, as many of them said, they weren't getting down on their knees praying while somebody beat them across the head when they'd been trying to kill Krauts or Japanese and getting subjected to gunfire and high explosive. They weren't going to passively get beat on. So they weren't nonviolent. And the other thing, they kept pointing the finger at Bayard Rustin, even back in the late 50s and the 60s. And what's his name? John Lewis. Who was supposed to be his little protege. And I remember I was sitting at the kitchen table or the dining room table doing homework. I was just in high school, and my old man dropped the second section of the L.A. Times in front of me. Said, "Read that and you'll understand why a lot of us don't deal with that civil rights stuff." So I'm reading. Last night, police on patrol in Pasadena observed a large car parked in one of the public parks. Upon stopping, they found Bayard Rustin, civil rights activist and known associate of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., and two male white suspects, one named so-and-so and the other such and such. Police discovered so-and-so and so-and-so, one of the white suspects, sodomizing Bayard Rustin while he, Bayard Rustin, was performing fellatio on the second male white suspect, so on and so forth. I remember that, and just 2 or 3 years ago, they had a move afoot where the California governor posthumously pardoned Bayard Rustin for getting arrested for open lewdness and indecent conduct in public for that incident. And I resented it because I said, what about all of the straight guys and gals who in high school, college, and just out with the wife or the date got it on in the back seat and didn't get posthumously or while alive pardoned for this? What gives? But, that just brought it back. So that was one of the problems. Now, it's their right to do whatever in the hell they want. It's just sometimes they make it a little difficult for other people.
Well, Judge,
now they call it homophobia, but actually that's just flipping the script from heterophobia.
Right. Judge, anyway, I got to show you.
Yeah. By the way, this here, I'm doing service and selling sauce. So it's JJB for mayor of Memphis, Tennessee in 2023. Send Brown downtown. And if you want the best sauce you've ever tried, Judge Joe Brown, JJB Barbecue, BBQ.com. You can order yourself some, and in a little while, it'll be on the shelves of your local grocery stores. So get a jump on the summer. It's some really good stuff. JJB, BBQ, and JJB in 2023 for mayor of Memphis, Tennessee.
That winning combination. That barbecue sauce is good, Judge. It goes good with just about everything and anything.
Yes, it does. French fries included.
Hey, everybody, this is Brother Ron. I am asking you all to do me a big favor. Think about supporting the We All Be movement. Your donation is tax deductible. The We All Be Group Incorporated is a recognized 501c3. And I'm just asking you all because I want to keep on bringing y'all quality work through the way that I know how to do best. And I'm going to sing my praises and toot my horn. A lot of y'all were not hip to Dick Gregory until Brother Ron brought him on the We All Be platform, until that Django review we did. Y'all seen another side of Judge Joe Brown, and Judge Joe Brown's message has been amplified. But it was We All Be that brought Judge Joe Brown to y'all back in 2014. And so many others. And we covered so many things. So help us out so we can help you all. Peace.